Let your body waddle. Body waddle.
What is going on, Crimson City? My name is Crimson CBAD, and I am coming to you today as the coach for your Detroit Steel Wings, coming up into the 5th season of the Global Battle Association. Now, for those of you who are wondering where my PGL battle is for this week, that will not be there. Our opponent for this week did drop out of the league, therefore we do win. We are going to the championship, so hopefully this type of content is still something you are interested in, especially because I know a lot of you are here for the GBA. So, without further ado, we're going to go on ahead and break down each draft pick individually, talk about it as a team, see where it fits, give it a little personality, talk to you about, why I chose this Pokemon, why it's got a nickname, why does it have this nickname. So, without further ado, we're going to go on ahead and get started. So, being second overall in the draft in the first round, that gives me almost anything I want. There's 700 plus Pokemon I have to worry about being sniped once. First overall pick was Excadrill, so I decided, you know what? I want something that's got offensive presence. I want something that can have defog support. I want something that can just hit hard, it can hit fast, it can hit however I want it to, and in my opinion, that was Latios. Now, the Lati twins I knew were going to go very early, and actually both the Lati twins Latios went 5th overall in the draft, so the Lati twins were gone before the first round was even half over. And looking at Latios' stats, it's got a base HP of 80, attack 90, base defense of 80, base special attack of 130, base special defense of 110, speed's 110 as well. With a max speed and beneficial nature, it's rocking around 178 if we run timid Latios. And I wanted this thing because it's going to be able to outspeed a lot of things. There are Mons that do have a higher base speed than Latios. So, given that ability, we could also run a Scarf Latios if we needed to. We can run Specs Latios, we can run Life Orb Latios, we can run Leftover Defog Latios, we can run so many things. I'm not going to go into all the fun stuff that it can do because obviously there are, I don't want to go too big into my details and plans for these mons, but there's so many different ways that we can run this, and I decided to nickname Latios the Blue One because after I drafted it, I was frantically typing in the Skype chat, wait, did I draft the Blue One? Did I draft the Blue Lottie? And everybody kept saying, yes, Crimson, you drafted the Blue One. So I was like, you know what? Why not just name it the Blue One? Because that's what it is. It's the Blue One. Next up overall in round 2, I wanted to keep going with that same offensive presence. I wanted something that could be ran very diverse. It could set up hazards. With Latios, we could remove hazards. With this next pick, I wanted to be able to set hazards as well. I wanted a bit more versatility with my Mons. I wanted the offensive presence that it gives my team to be diverse. So next up, I picked Infernape. And Infernape does have, can't really take a hit. Defense, special defense, both 71, rocking a 76 base HP. However, it does rock 104 attack and special attack. Has a base speed of 108, which is still good. There are a lot of Mons drafted that are around the 100, base 100 speed frame. So I wanted to be able to pick something that people are going to need to plan for as far as outspeeding. And a Jolly Infernape maxes out at a max speed of 176, whether we rock Timid or Jolly. And so that's only 2 points shy of Latios, but that is something they do need to keep in mind because opponents could plan to outspeed a Jolly Infernape, but not plan to outspeed a Timid Latios. So it does have the ability, like I said, to set hazards. It gets access to Stealth Rocks, it gets priority and stab in Mach Punch. It does have access to a ton of stab moves, Close Combat, Flare Blitz, Flame Charge, Overheat. It does also have access to moves like Earthquake, just in case I needed to have that. Gunk Shot for Fairies, U-Turn Initiative. It was definitely one of the solid picks, and I chose to nickname it Hephaestus. And if you guys haven't been around the channel long, I have a big thing with Greek mythology, and Hephaestus is the god of fire. And I really like that name. I felt it fit Infernape, and that's why I chose Infernape. Third round comes around, and Shady had already franchised, in my opinion, the perfect bulky water type. And I really wasn't the world's biggest fan of Vaporeon. I didn't like how diverse it wasn't, necessarily. The water absorbability is nice, but I wanted to go with something, in my opinion, that was better than Vaporeon, but not quite Milotic, so I went with Suicune. Suicune, now hidden ability Suicune is not yet released. If for whatever reason during this season the those hidden ability legendaries are released, we will not be allowing those in there, so we will only stick with Pressure Suicune. It does have base HP of 100, 75 attack, 115 defense, 90 special attack, 115 special defense, 85 in speed. I'm not looking for it to outspeed anything, but it does get initiative in the extreme speed move. Gets access to moves like Shadow Ball, Scald, obviously one of the most overused moves in the game. What else am I trying to think here? Crocune sets are always very common. You can always rock hidden powers on there, and it's definitely one of my favorite bulkier water types, just because it can sit in front of a lot of my opponent's Pokemon and just sit there and kind of set up. And they do need to plan for it. They do need to plan. Am I bringing a specially defensive set of Suicune to be able to tank up those special hits? Am I bringing a huge bulky set with a Rocky helmet just to fear them into attacking me physically? So, and what type of moveset am I going to have? Am I going to have, Sub Calm Mind? Am I going to have Rest, Calm Mind, Sleep Talk? What sort of variety am I running? So that's something also my opponents do have to plan for. And as you guys can see coming off of its back, I nicknamed this thing Streamers. And if you can't tell why, then I'm sorry. Okay, so next overall, 4th round, I see that somebody in my division drafted Mega Venusaur. I have a lot of experience with Mega Venusaur, and I know how absolutely disgusting this mon is. So I thought to myself, I want something that can not only dish out hits, because right now we've been running a little diverse. Latios can run specially offensive, physically offensive, specially defensive, supportive, and Fernape can run the same thing, physically offensive, specially offensive. I wanted something that just said, when you see me, you better plan on losing 2 to 3 Pokemon at least. And in my mind, that was Staraptor. Now, Staraptor, I started dipping into my free points with Staraptor. I also dipped into my free points with Infernape, but I dipped into my free points with Staraptor because of how just overall amazing it is. 120 base attack, 100 base speed. Like I said earlier, there are a lot of mons with base 100 speed that are being chosen throughout this draft. It does get the Intimidate ability for support, but it also gets the Reckless ability. And with a Jolly Staraptor reaching 167, that is something my opponents do have to plan for. Something like a Banded or even a Scarf Double Edge, Reckless Brave Bird is going to hurt their team completely. And I wanted something that just, when you see it in the team prep video, in the back of your mind, you need to understand, unless you have a solid resistance, unless you have, say, something like Golem or Steelix, then, we're not even going to be able to touch it. And even then, Staraptor does get access to close combat. It does get access to Defog as well. It does take pressure off of my Latios. Should I want to run just a full-on specially offensive, physically offensive, however you want to put it, Latios, Staraptor does take some of the Defog pressure off of Latios. Based off of its hairstyle, I did decide to nickname this thing Post-Hardcore because that's all the type of music I listen to. I thought it was very fitting given the hairstyle that this bird is rocking. So 5th round rolls around, and I really wanted a Nido. But as soon as I grabbed a Lottie, I thought to myself, there's no chance I'm going to be able to get one of the Lottie twins and then one of the Nidos. And I needed a ground-type Pokemon that was going to be able to take those electric hits, be able to take those electric hits. I wanted to give it some utility. I wanted some diversity. I don't want just a ground-type Pokemon that's there for the electric immunity. I wanted something that was going to be useful. And in my time with the PGL, as well as rocking out my own UU battles on the Smogon ladders, I fell in love with Crocodile. Crocodile is such an amazing Pokemon. Ground Dark Stab has a base attack of 117, has a base speed of 92. Now, while that does not hold a candle to our faster mon in Infernape or Latios or even Staraptor, it does, however, get access to the Moxie ability, which every time it does KO a Pokemon, its attack does raise 1 point. So a Moxie Scarf set on this thing is phenomenal. It is in the running right now for the league MVP in my off-season league. It does also get access to Intimidate. It does also get access to Anger Point. Now, I don't know if I'll ever run Anger Point Crocodile, but that is something to keep in mind. Intimidate support, Moxie Boost, gets access to things like Stealth Rock, Knockoff, it gets Elemental Fangs, it gets Earthquake, it gets Stone Edge, it gets access to moves like Aerial Ace, it gets, I believe it gets Dragon Tail? I'm not sure. I know it's either Dragon Claw or Dragon Tail. I want to say it gets Outrage. I don't know. I feel like this thing would get Outrage. But either way, this thing is a very diverse move pool. It can absorb those electric attacks very nicely. And it can be a potential setup sweeper for our Mons. As in the PGL, I did nickname Crocodile Instigator because whether you are popping out with a Moxie Scarf and being faster than everybody, being that instant gator, or whether you're intimidating things and instigating switches on your opponent's team, you know, I feel like Instigator was a good nickname. He's going to be able to help us out definitely in Season 5 of the GBA. If you guys were around for the live draft, or if you haven't watched the live draft on YouTube, it should be up by now. If not, go check over frequently for that. We will upload the entire live draft to the GBA YouTube. Right before this selection that I made, I got sniped. I got sniped so hard. I was thinking to myself, I need a fairy. I need a fairy. I need something good. I need something fast. I had my eye on Whimsicott. And Nips came in like a trained Marine sniper and just put a bullet in my head. And I had to think long and hard. I had my 2-minute timer on. And I was like, alright. Next best grass type. And I went with Roserade, because if we look at Roserade right here, it does have base HP of 60, base attack 70, nothing to hold the candle at, base defense of 55, honestly it's super frail. Base special attack of 125, base special defense of 105. That's absolutely, that's nuts. That is nuts. And without any quad weaknesses, a special defense of 105 is going to be able to sponge up some hits. It does have base speed of 90, so it is applicable to run as a faster mon. It can be run bulkier given its special defense stat. Natural Cure, Poison Point, and Technician abilities. It has, first off, it does have access to a ton of moves. That Whimsicott also does have access to Sleep Powder, Stun Spore, Poison Powder, Toxic. Poison Powder. Wow. Toxic. It gets access to Leech Seed. Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb are two of my absolutely favorite moves in the game. It also does get access to moves such as Shadow Ball and Extrasensory. Technician boosts do increase any hidden powers that I do run on this thing. And I wanted to name it Thorn because it is going to be a thorn in the sun. No, that's too cheesy. That's too cheesy. I don't know. I've always either named my Roserades, I've either named a Mass Bandit or Thorn, and I figured Thorn would be a much better. It's more deadly. You know, it's going to be able to be a prick to some of my opponents. No pun intended. But yeah, that's why I picked Roserade. So we hop in around 7, and at this point I'm looking at my team and I think to myself, 1, 2, 3 out of the 6 mons that I have drafted have a fairy weakness. And yeah, Roserade does give a good fairy check. Yeah, it's got a base 105 special defense, so if there's a Moonblast coming in, you know, we can kind of take it, but I wanted something that was more solidified as a fairy check. And I was looking around, and I really was a fan of Registeel. And Registeel has base defenses of 150, has base attacks of 75, has a base HP of 80. No useful ability in my opinion. Clear Body's okay. Clear Body's okay. I mean, not the world's most useful thing, but it is okay. It does get access to moves such as it gets Stealth Rock. It does get access to Thunder Wave, which is always a good thing in my opinion. I know a lot of people are against hacks, however, Thunder Wave does cripple a lot of things on my opponent's team that I would otherwise not have a chance to cripple. Earthquake, Flash Cannon, Iron Head are some of my favorite things to run. There is a ton of sets you can run with Registeel, and I really wanted something that was going to be able to sit in front of mons like Mega Gardevoir, sit in front of mons like Sylveon, sit in front of mons like what are the fairies we drafted? Not necessarily Mega Altaria because it's more diverse, but it can kind of do some damage to Mega Altaria. But this was an overall fairy check to cover up my fairy weakness that was there. I decided to nickname this thing Titan because it's huge, it's bulky, it's scary when the enemies see this thing hit the field. You know, it's Attack on Titan all over. We're going to be crushing some walls with Registeel this season. We're at the tail end of the 8th round, and I thought about in the off season franchise tagging Jolteon. I really did. I wanted to franchise tag Jolteon, but I kept thinking to myself, kept asking other coaches, you know, do you think it's worth it? Do you think it's worth it? No, you can probably pick it up early. It did end up, I want to say, went 4th round of Dan. But I'm looking at this, and I do need an electric type. I need an electric type, and I was looking around, and, you know, there was Electivire, there was Magneton. I could have taken a low-ranked Mega if I wanted to pick up something like Magnezone. There were a lot of different options. But right somewhere over, what tier was this? What tier was this? I want to say it was tier 3, maybe even tier 4. It wasn't in one of the higher tiers, but I was very surprised it hadn't gone yet. So late into round 9 or round 8. Round 8? Round 8. Late into round 8, I was able to pick up Eelektross. And I don't know how I did it, but I'm so glad I did. I don't know how it sat on the bench that long. It's got a base attack of 115, special attack 105, special defense 80. One of the reasons I love it is, first off, its move pool is so diverse that you can run anything. You can run mixed, you can run physical, you can run special, you can run AV, you can ban, scarf, you can do whatever you want to with this thing. And it has no weaknesses, provided that your opponents don't use Smackdown or Gravity, or, no, what's it? Is Gravity the one? I don't remember Gravity's the one. I think it is. Gravity, Mold Breaker, or Smackdown. It has no weaknesses. It's a pure electric type with a levitate ability. So it really can just kind of, it can sit in front of opponents' mons. It gets access to moves like Giga Drain, Wild Charge, Knockoff, Super Power, Flamethrower, Super Fang. It's an incredibly diverse mon. And I nicknamed this thing Parasite, honestly, because I'm a huge weeaboo in my own time. I love me some anime. And if you look at this thing, it's an eel, and it's got that kind of thing where it looks like it's just going to grab on, and it's going to drain the life force out of you, and that's what Eelektross is going to do to my opponents, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to drain their life force and bring us to the GBA Season 5 Championship. Early on round 9, I'm seeing a lot of good Rapid Spinners go, and while we don't have any solid Rapid Spinners, we do have a couple options for a defog, but seeing as how there were a lot of Rapid Spinners around, I wanted a solid spin blocker, and I had my eye on Dusknoir for a long time, but looking at the available items, or looking at the available mons, I decided to go with Dusclops. Dusclops was way down in Tier 5, base defenses of 130. Strap an Eviolite to that, and that is what? That brings him up to 95 if I'm uninvest 195. It multiplies by 1.5. I don't know if my math's right, but if I take 1.5 of 130 and add it, it's 195. Puts it through the roof. And while I'm not too big a fan of Eviolite-dependent mons, even without the Eviolite, Dusclops almost has the same defenses as Registeel, which is absolutely phenomenal. It can spam Will-O-Wisp. It gets stab priority in the Shadow Sneak ability. It gets knockoff. It gets pain split. It gets a ton of stuff. It gets an absolute ton of stuff. Not the world's fastest mon, base speed of 25, as you guys can see. But I decided to nickname this thing Winchester. I'm a huge fan of the Supernatural series. The Winchesters hunt ghosts. Dusclops is a ghost. It all makes sense in my opinion. So, we're 10 rounds in. I still don't have that fairy that I talked about earlier. I need something that I need a fairy. It's plain and simple. I need a fairy. And there was I don't think I could pick up Aromatisse. Or I wanted Aromatisse, but that would have put me in negative points, meaning in the last round I would have had to have drafted a B-rank Mega, and we weren't allowing points on credit. So I needed something in Tier 5, I believe it was. Tier 5. I needed a Tier 5 fairy. And there was Wigglytuff, and there was, like, Clefairy, Eviolite Clefairy, but I saw Mawile. Now, I don't like double typings. I don't, but my last two picks are going to show you guys. I do have some double typings on there, but I do think it's okay. Mawile has base attack and defense at 85, special defense and special attack are nothing really. Same thing with the speed, Hypercutter, Intimidate, Sheer Force abilities. Intimidate support is awesome. Sheer Force is also amazing because it does get access to moves like Iron Head and Play Rough. It does get access to moves like Sucker Punch. It can Pursuit Trap, Swords Dance, Baton Pass. It gets a ton of stuff. It gets access to Stealth Rock, so if I'm not bringing Registeel for whatever reason, I do get to take some sort of, I can take some support, I can take some pressure off of things like Infernape or Crocodile. Should I be bringing them? I don't need them to set my hazards. With Steel Fairy typing, it is resisted to the poison, but it does have, it is weak to things like the Ground and Fire typing as well. I nicknamed this thing Plush Trap. I love the Five Nights series, and I was trying to think of something, you know, kind of cute, kind of cuddly, but it would literally rip your face off. And I thought about the Plush Trap minigame from Five Nights at Freddy's 4, and that's why I went with Plush Trap. So last round overall. Last round, and we need a Mega. Every other Mega has been taken that I had my eye on. I had my eye on Mega Sableye. I could have grabbed Mega Sableye. I could have grabbed Mega Altaria. I could have grabbed Mega Venusaur. I could have grabbed a ton of potential threats. But we're all the way in round 11, and there's just one Mega that's just kind of sitting there. And I'm talking with it, and I'm like, you know, why are you still here? And she says to me, she goes, well, I don't know. because after one Dragon Dance, I can pretty much 2-hit KO the entire metagame. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to our team captain for the Global Battle Association Season 5, Saphira, the Mega Charizard X, coming in with a base attack of 130, defense 111, special attack 130, base speed of 100 with the Tough Claws ability. Ladies and gentlemen, with an adamant nature, after one Dragon Dance, it essentially OHKOs, 2-hit KOs the entire competitive metagame. I love this Mon because two Megas that were drafted in my division, both Mega Scizor and Mega Venusaur, cannot hold a candle to this thing, in my opinion. They cannot hold a candle to this thing. It is absolutely amazing. It gets tons of coverage moves. It gets recovery and roost. It gets Tough Claws ability. Tough Claws is one of the best abilities in the metagame, in my opinion. We see the only other Mega, to my immediate knowledge, that gets it is Mega Metagross, and Mega Metagross is actually banned in our format. If you're not familiar with aDrive's run in the UCL, we are seeing that his Tough Claws Mega Metagross is running shop. I believe to the season to date it has over 30 kills. And I will not bet that Charizard X does get over 30 kills, but a lot of people were saying that Charizard X is the irrelevant Mega. And with something that has the ability to just annihilate anything in the competition, I want to prove to people that Charizard X is still a relevant Mega. It was definitely something that was very definitely prevalent in Pokemon X and Y metagame. I want to bring it back into Oris. And I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge nerd. I like to read a lot. If you guys read the Aragon series, there's a beautiful blue dragon that breathes fire all the time. Her name is Saphira. That is why I named Charizard X Saphira. So ladies and gentlemen, you are now looking at your Season 5 roster for the Detroit Steelwings. If you guys do have any questions about the team, anything you'd like to point out, leave in the comment section down below. If you guys are excited, be sure to smash that like button. As always, if you're new to the city, hit that subscribe button. Our Week 1 battle, I believe, is going up November 15th. We are playing Hayden and the Sacramento Sea Kings, so make sure you guys are excited for that. All that being said, my name is Crimson CBAD, and I will talk to you all soon. Later.